excited because this is what? All right, we got the big game that's going on, and everybody is engrossed in the game. So, hey, we're just having fun with it today. We've got Dr. Michelle Webb on today.
Hey
Hello, Dr.
everybody.
Michelle. She's
Happy
representing, of
New
course,
Year.
Hampton, and we're going into, of course, Black
Yay.
History next week. And then we got Terry on. All right, Terry.
Hello.
Of
Hello,
course,
everybody.
and hey, I'm here. And so Shawana is on the backstage. She's handling everything for us. But just check this game out now. Let's get excited about it. It's about to go down. It is about to go down. It's about to go down. Tonight, it is going all the way down. So, let's talk about it with Val. It's all about life experiences. It's all about supporting each other. It is all about life conversations. And I'm excited about this conversation today, which is going to be a great conversation. We also, are talking about things that's educational, things that's fun. And this is a platform where you get to hear what is going on, all of the hot things that's going on. So we say join in, go ahead on and, hit the chat. Please share this with somebody right now. Okay, we're going to be dipping back and forth with the game, so don't worry about it. We're going to do that. Dr. Michelle,
If I scream, you know what's happening.
But this is so exciting, so exciting. So we want you to know that our topic today, now our topics, we've had a chance to talk about COVID all during the month, but just in case you want to go and get your mask, don't forget, go by the stores and pick up your mask. You can do that. Dr. Michelle, you said you pick your mask up, right?
Yes, I got some masks at CVS. Kroger's giving them away, Walgreens. So a lot of our stores and the drugstores, pharmacists, etc. You go right, at least at CVS, you went to the right into the front counter. And we're tied.
All right.
Okay. That's what I was wondering.
Whoa.
And the regulation.
Oh my God.
And to overtime. And the regulation.
All right. So,
but you can walk right in, and CVS, I walked in, I picked up 3 masks. And no one asked any questions. They weren't asking to sign anything or anything of that nature. So I don't know if you can go from place to place just so you'll have an extra. But there are ways, even if you look online, if you can only get those 3, that it tells you how to safely disinfect the mask. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You go to the pharmacy?
That's good. So
no, that's what I thought. You go pick it up from this pharmacy, but at least at CVS, I had gone back towards the pharmacy and I asked one of the girls there because it was a pretty good little line. So I thought that was for picking up the mask and things, but they were just picking up their prescriptions. And she said, "Oh no, we've got all of our masks up front." I just turned around, made a beeline up front. When it was my turn to check out, I grabbed I asked the lady, and she says, "Right there." I picked up my 3 masks, and they are all one size.
Okay.
They were the larger mask, so
that's good. That way you have more room to breathe. Okay. Well, also talking about that, you did mention earlier something about a new Omicron, but
yes, there's an Omicron subvariant, but not a lot is known. They're not really sure if this one is as easily spread or if it's any more virulent than the other. So far, Omicron within itself has been more mild to moderate disease in people who are vaccinated and boosted for the most part. And those who are unvaccinated has taken a slightly more severe course, like the other variants and subvariants of COVID, such as your Delta Plus, etc. So you still have a lot of people who are being hospitalized, even with the Omicron variant. So,
okay, that's good to know. Any other updates? Because the topic that we really want to talk about. Terry, did you have anything great that's really going on? So what we've got now and what we really want to talk about is something that's really hot, and I'm sure people are not even thinking about it. Probably hadn't even, some people have heard, but we do know that systemic racism is something not of the past, but it's something that is just alive and well. And so we want to talk about something that's real critical, and it is the critical race theory. Somebody has asked, what is that? the critical race theory that's really going on right now. And we have to talk about it because we're coming up on our Black History Month, and we want to continue with that. But I think the critical race theory is something to talk about. I think that, parents need to talk about it, families need to talk about it. I think, first of all, we need to know about it, the tenets of the critical race theory. So, what is the CRT? Dr. Michelle, you want to kind of elaborate, and I'll come in with.
Sure. Sure. So, I mean, basically, critical race theory is not a new phenomenon. It's been around since the 70s and 80s. It was some scholars who were basically studying the intersection of race and law in the United States and basically challenging mainstream culture and the approaches to racial justice and injustices. And so, and so it's rearing its head at this point now because of um, school education for right now, especially in several states, Georgia, Florida, Virginia, all included, and they don't want it taught in school. And you're going, okay, well, you're not teaching my children law, you're not teaching them this, but what it is that the precipice of things with the integration to the fabric of our system and the culture, the way that things are constructed, with biases implicit and inferred into every facet of the culture, whether it's health disparities, whether it's food insecurities, banking, financial, socioeconomic. And so it's already woven. And so they're challenging this. And they've been challenging it. But right now it's coming to a head, so to speak, or a critical mass level, because everyone since at least last spring has been extremely concerned about it being taught in school. And bottom line is, we'll give you, Black History Month, we'll give you February, but we're going to tell you your history. We're going to tell you what you can and what you can't do. We're going to tell you what you can celebrate, what you can't celebrate, or in a sense, wrap it up and say what's acceptable, what we're comfortable with. Is what it boils down to.
Right.
It's a catchphrase right now. It's a buzzword. It's kind of being tossed around like a label, where people are trying to illuminate and elucidate and bring to the forefront these intrinsic mechanisms with which to discriminate against a class or a people. And that's just it. And right now, our Caucasian counterparts, some, not all, please don't start the cancel culture and hate mail. It's not necessary because we're not here for that. Some are tossing around in the sense of saying, oh, you're using it to justify and blanketly say all white people are racist and all Black people are just hopeless, oppressed victims. That's not what this is, and it's not what it's about.
Yeah. And Shawana said it's been around for
years.
Years, really.
Actually, more than that, since 1970s.
Yeah, it's not anything new. But it's been brewing, and now it's almost like it's coming to a real forefront. She said they're just kind of lumping everything into the CRT, and it's not a good thing. And so, yeah. And so, in other words, they were saying it, you can look at it on the basis of, you hate to say it, but it's just one of those things where we got to look at it. It said the tenets help to highlight the origin and current, I would say, manifestation of racial oppression, discrimination, and equality. And it's found in the fabric of this culture. It really is. And the tenets is a brief principle of what you would call what we feel that in Christianity, that the belief that Jesus is the Son of God, and they kind of feel like that this belief is that it's about a group of people that feel that there is no racism. That there is not any. We just kind of in our mind thinking that that's what it is, but there's a core group of people that actually is brewing and fueling this.
Well, you have the Christian side of CRT, like you said,
Yes.
that it's that, and then you have, in a sense, the more general socialized part where there's, the tenet of storytelling, but the general
This,
principle of CRT is
yeah.
the counter story. So they will give you his story or their story, but it's what, as I said before, what's acceptable, what they can
Mm-hmm.
tolerate, what's no longer considered, I guess, in a sense, a threat. So, okay, you can have, as I said before, Black History Month, and you can have as our mainstays, they're comfortable now with the Martin story, the Malcolm story, those sorts of things. But what we're not being taught are the root fundamentals of our history. So we don't want to talk about slavery. We don't want to talk about family separation, family beatings, molestation, rape, and pillage of a
Mm-hmm.
people. And that helps to then indoctrinate an inferiority into that group and race of people. So unless your story is told and we know and understand your history, guess what? You're going to be doomed to repeat certain aspects of that history. There won't be necessarily in terms of slavery, etc., but there are different
Mm-hmm.
formats and forms of slavery. It's mental indoctrination, things of that nature, where we just do not. Um, you, you know, it's just so much. It's multi-layered. You got to peel the thing back, but it's a thing of indoctrinating a people to get them to feel that there's an inferiority there, and once you
Yeah.
believe it, and that's
Yeah.
that's the most
Yeah.
dangerous form of a racist or racism type thing. um
I
and the
think
reason this
Shawana
is
said that
Mhm.
systemic racism is a real issue, and this is an opportunity for all of us to come together and discuss the CRT and right the wrong and the injustices that still exist. And if you don't understand the problem, you won't intervene and correct it. And I agree with that.
Right. So, I
And,
mean,
and
the first step is like, the whole 12-step alcohol program and any other drug addiction program. You have to recognize that there is a problem. You
yeah,
have to
Mm-hmm.
agree and identify that racism is here, it's alive, it's well, it is an issue. If you
Right.
deny
it's
it,
an
then it
issue
doesn't
because
mean
they
it's
want to
not
take us.
there.
It's an issue, in my opinion, because they want to take us back, and they're progressively, are trying to do that, trying to undo all the things that have been progressive. But also, I kind of think, and I could be wrong in my thinking, that a lot of who's in the movement of this do not want their children and grandchildren to know of how much, blacks were suppressed. You know,
Right. I mean, it's a custom and a policy of the people who are fighting against it to misrepresent the concepts of slavery, of what have you, so that they don't know, because they're presenting this as being harmful to our children. Anything, oh well, why should my children feel bad, or my grandchildren? Well, okay, look at the folks that you
Mm-hmm.
oppressed, and generations and generations upon generations of
yeah,
how
Right.
are we to feel. What's the, what I mean? Why is it that um, you're allowed to feel a certain way? And to me, that kind of slips into the white privilege sort of thing, which is kind of
Mm-hmm.
sort of one of their tenets as well. Is you have the permanence of racism because it's been here for
hmm,
centuries and it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
being propagated. You have the, like I said, the whiteness as property or privilege. It's understood that you're automatically better, or this or that and the other. And then you have like this entrance convergence where, okay, if we can find common ground that's going to be beneficial, okay, we'll recognize we can work within this confine, because we
Right.
can benefit. Then okay, we can allow that, on a small liberal scale. And these are the things that are being propagated. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and keeping it. So let's say, for instance, I mean, a real good example. Well, actually, just one other thing.
okay,
The legislators. Okay, so this was introduced. This is back as far July of this past year, July 21. 22 state legislatures and at least 9 states have passed law against teaching CRT, critical race theory. Okay, now Arizona State Supreme Court overturned it. Okay, for now, but you had Idaho, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, Arizona, and North Dakota, as I said. But Arizona State Supreme Court, at least for the time being, has overturned it. So we have to, one, acknowledge that this inequality exists. Disparities, healthcare, like I said, insecurities for food, different things of that nature, socioeconomic, school boards here, Georgia, Florida, even Virginia's new governor, Youngkin, has set up a, bless his heart, an email, if you haven't seen it, email hotline tip.
And what is it for?
That is to, so that any parent or what have you can go on this email thing through, whatever, virginia.gov, whatever, and report, this teacher, this school, or this university is teaching critical race theory, and I don't want my child exposed to that, etc. And so what they're doing is going to try to use that pull funding, state funding from the schools and universities.
Mm-hmm.
We're so threatened by truth.
Yeah. That's nuts. Yeah, Shawana said that's nuts. She's a task force for people to report the teachings of the CRT. In other words, what we're saying, people, is that they're trying to pull Black history out of the schools. They don't want it taught. They really don't. They just want certain portions of it, but they don't really want the truth to be told. And that's where we are with that is just really, really looking at what in the world are we doing? Yeah.
Oh, well, Cincinnati just won 27-24.
All right. Cincinnati won. So the next game.
Somebody
Next game.
The clock is already
But you know
on.
what? Kansas, nothing. I'm not going to say nothing about my team. All right, let's move it on.
Okay. But getting back to this, because
Kansas City, I wanted Kansas City, but hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
And somebody asked, why are we talking about this? Why is this necessary? Let me just say this. And I was talking with our pastor today, and I was saying, is it necessary to talk about things like this? He said, we keep talking about knowledge is power, but knowledge is not power until you do something about it. It doesn't become power. We can say it all day long until we actually do something about it. What we're saying is that, we want to be knowledgeable of the subtle things that are going on that we're just not paying attention to. And hence the reason why we're seeing a lot of things that's going on now.
Well, some of this is not subtle, though.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, that's true.
I was just listening to another program the other night, and they were talking about this. And the one of the educators brought up, they said, well, that's part of the reason for your SATs and things getting into schools, getting into grad schools, the MCATs, et cetera, because what they're doing is trying to weed you out.
Yes.
Okay. I have a goddaughter in nursing school. Taking, some exams, et cetera. And they told them, if you don't make 90% on this, you can go ahead and pack your things and leave. Well, I'm sorry, there is a critical nursing shortage in this country.
Exactly.
And the advent of, and it was pre-COVID, and COVID is now hastening and broadening that gap because of the fact that healthcare workers were getting burned out. Okay, so you got people just walking into retirement, some of them just hanging up because they're tired, they're exhausted. And so you're hastening and widening the gap on so many different levels in the healthcare field, for example. And so then to tell someone that, allow them to go on through the program because,
But they're going to weed our children out of schools too.
Yes, they're gonna, and that's what this is about in terms of telling them what they can and what they can't teach from K through 12, et cetera. And like I said,
several teachers
they want
have
to keep
resigned.
And the other thing is, let's say, for instance, look at your political realm right now. And I'm not doing red and blue states, all this, so please, again, don't do the cancel culture, don't do the crazy.
Right.
Let's look at truth. Truth is going to stand still, lies will run. Truth stands still. Okay, so look at the political system as it is. Why do we have so many new laws and voter suppression laws and things like that? If you know Okay, look at the gerrymandering that we have. So we know that most minorities will tend to vote, not all, most will tend to vote as Democratic. So then what do? They redistrict, they redraw the lines. That's gerrymandering.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
they can dilute your vote.
Yes.
Okay, that's a very real present current systemic happening and ever clear and present danger that is going on at this particular time. Same thing in the banking industry, where
Mm-hmm.
they take entire neighborhoods and say, okay, well, we're going to draw a line or a boundary around here because this bunch is high risk. You don't lend to them, or if you lend to them, it's a predatory lending thing. And when we
Yes.
don't know, we are subject to fall into these things and these balloon mortgages and multiple arms and things, and then we're upside down on it.
And look what happened years ago. How is that Wells Fargo and how they did,
Mhm.
African Americans in terms of purchasing homes and things like that, and had to go back. But it was years before they found out how the difference that they were making. And we know that this is all true, but it's becoming it's becoming to the forefront. But what I'm really concerned about is our children, and how it's affecting them and how it's affecting the young people that are going to college now. And not only that, how it really is affecting, the healthcare industry and all of these industries where we are working, and how they're weeding us out is they keep setting this bar and they keep setting this bar. And so therefore, that weeds, us out.
Well, some of the rules are just changing on the fly.
Just change it on the fly.
Just changing on the
just
fly.
like just
So,
like the voters,
mhm,
registration here just changed on
mhm,
the fly,
changed on the fly.
all because, and what that means is that they're trying to set the pace, for this next election. So
Election.
no,
Mhm.
no, critical race theory is real. And it's really would be, I would say, to our benefit to educate, to get educated on this and understand, even in, in the workplace. So we just gotta, be upfront, be real, and we gotta talk about it. And people think that, well, it doesn't, the church needs to look out. Look, they're gonna start changing the rules on the church after a while. So if we don't be careful, it's gonna affect all of us, really. It
Well,
really
it
is.
already affects all of us in
Yeah,
one way,
yeah.
shape, form, or the other. Going back to healthcare, when you look at it, that's why you have disparities in healthcare. You can, I've seen this up close and personal. But for example, our Caucasian friends can go in and say, "Hey, I've got this," and they take it, seriously, whatever. And you could go in with the same complaint, identical, and you may be assigned a lesser thought process. Oh, well, they're just, whatever, or they're drug seeking, or this, that, and the other. And you really are coming in with an absolute complaint.
Yeah.
And so, therefore, the seriousness, the level of acuity that is given to you versus your white counterpart that comes in with the exact same complaint, and I mean, and documentation history, so I'm not making it up. There are papers on this, has been shown. That's
Yes.
why we talk about healthcare disparities and things of that nature, because it's there, it's real.
It is real.
Okay.
And Shawana said that she said this is the next election. She said it's very critical. People need to wake up. And she said, especially those that receive government funding. Absolutely. They're going to try to
Every
hold these
election
things
is
around our
critical,
neck.
because
Yes.
what we tend to do as a people is vote in your major presidential primaries.
And
What
that's it.
we do not do is hit our local elections, which elects your school board, your city council, and those things. Because see, that has direct governance on what you do in your city, what is done
Yeah.
right there in your thing, what's done in your state legislatures. We don't hit these midterm elections and take these things seriously to
Absolutely.
investigate the candidates, what the issues and the initiatives are on the ballot, and to try to understand or ask questions. There is no dumb question except for the one that's not asked.
Exactly.
And I'd rather you ask me
All
15
are
million
important.
questions and come up with some sort of consensus of understanding than not ask anything. Same thing with critical race theory. I think this is something that, I'm glad it's coming back up It
Yeah.
was circa 1970s and 80s. It
Yeah.
kind of died down, and now all of a sudden there's this mad push, because obviously somebody has hit the nail on the head, whether it's all the fair fight action groups with Stacey Abrams, this one, that one, wherever and however it resumed and reared its head once again.
Yeah.
This is a real thing, and somebody's doing more than scratching at the surface. There's exposure. It's exposure that we don't want you to really know. And
And
if you're
yes,
trying to shed light on it and we're trying to keep it in the dark, that's where the two are colliding.
exactly.
Right.
So the critical race theory was it was a college course, you want to say it, and it has nothing to do
Mhm.
with the political agenda that's being pushed now.
Right,
See,
but everything is still politically motivated.
yeah,
It's still politically motivated.
Right.
It was a
Right.
college course, etc. But beyond being a college course where it could be taught, it's something that needs to come out. And our children need to know more than Martin and Malcolm. They need to know Marcus Garvey. They need to know, if they watch Women of the Movement, Mamie Till Mobley, Emmett Till's story. They need to know William C. Handy, the father
all
of the
of these
police.
are movies. Don't you think that it's important that parents should allow should sit their children to watch? I always make sure my children watch those movies. That was to me, that was important knowledge for them to know this is what has
Absolutely.
happened. And you have a part to play in all of this as you go to school and as you would have knowledge of these things. So I just think that educating our children, helping our children to be educated, all those movies that comes on, I think the parents should sit their children down, take these little things away from them and say, hey, we're going to sit down and we're going to
But you know
watch
what?
this.
Even if you don't take this little thing away from somebody, this right here, you can look up Google, hey
You can
Google,
look,
hey
but
Siri, hey
yeah,
Alexa,
help
and
them.
ask any
Right,
question
right.
you
I
want to
agree.
know.
Help them to do it. But
Absolutely. But I want
I'm
to take
saying
the
take it
games
away
away. I
from
want to
what
take, yes,
the
yes.
importance of it. I'm saying
hmm
rather
hmm
than playing games and rather than
Absolutely.
doing all these things that's
hmm
not putting ticking, talking, and I don't have nothing to do. I'm
Nothing
not
against it.
against TikTok
Nothing
at
against
all.
it.
But
Nothing
the
against
point
it.
is that knowledge and getting some things to understand, what has happened and then what's presently going on right now. Children are
Absolutely.
very smart. They really are.
They are.
And,
They are.
you know, and Shawana said something about, she said 3 minutes left. Oh, it's
Oh,
going to
okay.
be all
Well,
right.
I think that we need to become more involved. We need to realize what's out here, what's being said, what's being done, and take these things to heart. Just as we discussed legacies a few months back last year,
Yes.
financial legacy, other legacies. These
Yes.
are things that are important. This is also critical to your legacy because it's your
It
history.
is. It
And
is.
we need to know that, and we need to know beyond Malcolm Malcolm and Martin and everyone that they deem now acceptable and not necessarily a threat. You need to know everyone else, the Mae Jemisons of the world, Ben Carson. And I blame some of his, and don't hate me, stop. Brilliant neurosurgeon, but he
Yes.
did have two bouts with colon cancer. So I think some of his thoughts and missteps were chemo brain. That's my opinion. Don't shoot the messenger. That's my humble opinion. But we're going to keep it moving. But here's one of the things that Governor Youngkin on the website that he had. So one of the comments was, "Oh, I have to report CRT right now, and this is racism live and living color. Can I report my governor? Who do I call to report him to?" They were talking about Youngkin. They said this is a prime
Wow.
example of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But we went on, and the other one says, "Oh, they're teaching my children Arabic numbers in school. So you're talking the Roman numerals." Says, "Oh God, that's CRT. Who do I talk to?" But the most poignant thing of all, and I hope I can share this on my screen. It says, if this child was strong enough to survive it, your child is strong enough to learn about it. And guess who they picked? Hopefully you can see it. That's Ruby Bridges.
Ooh, wow.
Okay, that
Wow.
spoke volumes to me. That's Ruby
All
Bridges.
right.
And if that little girl, 6 years old, can go through a whole army of people shouting racial epithets and everything else with guards and
Yeah.
security things thrown in, and if she could brave it and go through it, live through it, talk about it, tell about it, what, 67 or 68 years old at this point, but at 6 years old, if that baby could go through that, live through it, experience it, and tell it, why isn't your child strong enough to understand and hear the truth? I'll say it
Wow.
again. The truth will
Ah,
stand,
that's the last word.
lies will run.
That's a good one. That is so good. Listen, you have just been listening to the critical race theory, the CRT. That's going to be, something that needs to come to the forefront and continue to be talked about. And so a lot of people don't know about it, and we can't be so blindsided even in our spirituality that we don't want to know that don't want to teach the truth. We gotta have a balance. We live in this world, and we gotta know what's going on in this world, and we also are the kingdom as well. And therefore I believe the balance. We can live and not be affected. We gotta be able to help, and this is where it starts. It can start, from right where you are in your home. So I'm just excited about it. Let's talk about it as we're coming up next week. We are coming up next week, starting with our Black history. So don't get it. Hey, we're going to have some different ones that's coming. That's going to be talking about Black history, but educate, and help. Not only that, on a spiritual level too, we do it in the church as well. Educate the young people, concerning their heritage. Look, there's so many things that we talk about, Black history, even from a spiritual standpoint, and the United Methodist Church, and all of these churches getting started. All of this is important. So this has been Let's Talk About It with Alice, with Dr. Michelle Well, all right, with Terry, and with Shawana, who is running everything. We thank you for joining us. As we always do, we say love,
Peace
And
and
increase.
increase.
Hang on to the increase, everyone. We love
Yes,
you.
we say we
Good
love
to
you.
see
Thank you
everyone.
so much for
Bye.
joining us. Join us again. Please share this with somebody because this is great information. Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye.